another episode of the Mental Hotline. My name is Tracy Lay, and today my co-host is
Alex Kim. The Mental Hotline is a mental health podcast series brought to you by the Laugh Out Together Foundation, where we discuss every facet of mental health and learn new things about each and every person's mind. For more information, please check out the Laugh Out Together Foundation on Instagram at LOT_foundation for more information about us. And please consider donating to support our show and our cause at tinyurl.com/lotline donate.
the topic we'll be tackling today is a natural vital process that everyone obviously loves, sleep. In reality, we should spend 7 to 8 hours sleeping every day. But we all know that the number of hours is much less than that. So in this episode, we'll be digging into the true importance of sleep, especially what happens when we don't get sleep and what healthy sleep looks like.
And just like all other Mental Hotline episodes, today we have a guest joining us to talk about this topic. With her license in clinical social works, she helps people all around the United States and even has her own therapeutic service. Here's Miss Emily Mayot.
Thank you for your introduction. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Go ahead, Tracy.
Do you want to tell us more about yourself?
Yeah, so I love that introduction. So I am a licensed clinical social worker, also known as a therapist. So the things that I tackle on a daily basis is within my own private practice. So I would be a person that people would come and see for outpatient mental health therapy. So I deal with a variety of issues, anywhere from anxiety, depression, bipolar to, yes, sleep issues, and also, various types of trauma and stuff like that. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys today about sleep.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah.
All right, so our first question is, what inspired you to pursue the profession you're in right now?
Oh my gosh, this is such a loaded question. So
Take your time answering.
like many other helping professions or professionals, I really wanted to help people. I think it kind of just came down to, do I want to be a teacher or do I want to be a therapist? And like you guys know, you can maybe have some experience being trying to help as a teacher's aide and to understand the teaching profession, but you can't really shadow on a therapist profession at all, because that would be conflicting with confidentiality of clients. So I had spent a lot of time focusing on whether I wanted to be a teacher and spending a lot of time trying to do that. And I've realized that I don't think I have the capacity for teaching. And so I decided to move towards therapy. And on that journey, I got to know myself a lot more, as well as how to help others more professionally and not just have poor boundaries and give advice type of thing. So that's a little bit why I chose this.
That's very cool about a little bit about your background as a therapist and what you might have wanted to go into as a teacher. Our next question is, have you personally had any struggles or anything like that that have brought you to want to help others in your services as a therapist?
Yeah, I think the biggest struggles is just understanding myself and others. I think it's very confusing, and I think that there are, we're in America, so there's a variety of cultures, and it's hard to understand a little bit about like ourselves and the people around us. And I think it helped kind of understand myself and others by choosing therapy. And so personal struggles would just be anywhere from just not knowing how to be in a relationship to understanding family dynamics and others' family dynamics and why things continue to happen.
What made you interested in the general field of sleep?
So what made me really interested in the general field of sleep is that, sleep is what sleep is what fuels us to live. A lot of people say, YOLO, I'll sleep when I'm dead. That is not correct. That will severely damage you and shorten your life very quickly. So a lot of my interest in sleep is how it impacts every single person and every single living being on this planet, including mammals, reptiles, all that type of thing. And so I think that that's super interesting, and to try to assist people with, just facts about sleep and how they can learn to sleep better and thus have a better life and maybe, less chance of diseases and mental health issues. And it doesn't all stem with sleep, but they're all very interrelated.
It seems that while you were talking about sleep, you talked a bit about those people that do say YOLO and like basically um, don't sleep because they say they'll sleep later or that there's too much life to live. Do you often come by a lot of these sorts of people and people that often have sleep problems such as insomnia or other disorders with sleep in your work?
Um, it sounds like you're asking me about if I come across with people that really don't regard sleep very highly or just want to enjoy life experience over their quality and quantity of sleep. Yes. So I think that with people that struggle with, saying, oh, YOLO, I'll sleep when I'm dead, I think that has to do with our culture. And surprisingly enough, as we get into the topic of sleep, a lot of it involves our culture. And so in America, our culture is so highly revolved around work and productivity. And it doesn't really, um, I guess, support enough people in living their life and being happy and enjoying life's fruits rather than constantly being productive and working.
Okay, well, that's a great response. What are what are some strategies that people can take to try and fix how they sleep and kind of their sleep schedules?
Well, a big thing of strategy to fix their sleep schedules is just um, the first thing is wanting to sleep. I think that if people prioritize sleep, then they'll do it. Um, I also recognize that people that prioritize sleep and they have an opportunity to sleep, but then have difficulties sleeping, that is a whole different issue. But the biggest thing with sleep is being able to just want to sleep and make that a priority, because so much of what you guys do with being students and being ready for college and all these other things, it's that high pressure of productivity and getting ready for college and completing classes and doing schoolwork after school. And so it's a lot of stress and pressure, but it's also being able to, understand that sleep is super valuable and what you're willing to do to get sleep.
You went over a little bit in your explanation of that, but I'd just like to know how much of an effect does sleep have on our daily performance, and what can be the risks of not getting enough of it?
So this question is one of the more difficult questions for me to answer because it involves so much. So I can tell you that if you don't get sleep, like sleep deprivation, like whether it's acute or chronic, more of the acute sleep deprivation, what could happen is that you have slowed thinking, reduced attention span, your memory, it's really hard to have memory recall, maybe poor decision making, lack of energy, and various mood changes. So that would be the problem if you don't get sleep. So, and that also just ranges on how long that you haven't been getting sleep and the quality of sleep. So it's not just about hours, it might be also about quality. So, how much of an effect does sleep have on general daily performance? A lot.
I see. Well, in the case that someone is having trouble sleeping at night, just due to the stress, due to the economic pressures, due to a lot of different reasons, what strategies and tips would you recommend in order to fall asleep quicker?
Oh, well, that is a difficult question too. So if you're just an average person that really doesn't struggle a whole lot with, sleep issues such as like insomnia or sleep apnea, like biological sleep issues, if you're a person that does not ever have any of those issues and is perfectly a great candidate to sleep whenever they want, and just has difficulty sleeping, I would just suggest better sleep hygiene. So, what that means is knowing how far in advance you should shut off your phone before sleeping or exercising before sleeping. Sometimes exercising before sleeping can cause you to have increased energy and cause you to have difficulty sleeping. So it varies from just preparing your sleep environment for the best possible sleep, having a good bed, pillow, sleeping environment. But not all of these are really ideal because not all students and adults um, have the the area to have great sleep. Some people sleep in the same room as their siblings or anything like that. So I just suggest whatever it is to encourage sleep, the better. So that could just be so many different things. But I would just start with good bed and I guess good pillow and turning off the lights, no electronics before bed type of thing, at least 30 minutes to an hour before bed, and being able to do more relaxing tasks like, you know, reading a book or something like that. So, kind of trying to mimic what you're doing as a toddler or a baby when your parents help you go to sleep. So, sleep hygiene is basically an adult term for bedtime routine.
On the flip side of that topic of why people what might make people have better sleep, what are some possibilities that would cause people to lose sleep on the other side of that?
So sleep deprivation simply means to not get enough sleep. So reasons it could be psychological, biological, or all in between. So some part of that is with sleep deficient. So we can have sleep deficiency and we can have sleep insufficiency. So you can sleep really long but not get quality sleep, or you can sleep for just short periods of time and that's just not enough. So I guess going back to your answer, reasons for just plain old you can't sleep for a certain amount of time may have to do with stress. It may have to do with medication. It may have to do with um, the amount of caffeine use that you have, and also with stress and mental health factors, they all range very a lot, basically. So, um, yeah, that's
All right.
it.
Okay. That's such a great response. So, how do you talked about having quality sleep? So, what are some signs that a person might have healthy sleep, and how should we maintain a healthy sleep schedule to follow that up?
Signs that someone is sleeping well or having healthy sleep. So this is something that you can dive more in with a like sleep psychologist or a sleep doctor, which are called somnists. That's a really funny term, but I love that. So they can probably get into that a little bit more because it also involves different phases of sleep. So we have REM sleep and then we have NREM sleep. So with REM sleep is rapid eye movement. A lot of people think that rapid eye movement sleep is the deepest sleep, but it's really not. It's the most active part of sleep. And in REM sleep, it's known to have a lot of repair and to go over, kind of review what's going on in a day. And so you can imagine if you don't have REM sleep, then you probably don't feel as rested, or you might feel more emotional the next day. But if you don't have NREM sleep, there's all sorts of different consequences. So it really just depends for those two types of sleep when you're sleeping. So um, remind me of your question again. I got lost. Sorry.
It's okay. Uh, if someone has already built up a healthy sleep schedule, how should we maintain that sleep schedule so it doesn't, so we don't break out of it?
Well, I mean, part of that is what we had kind of talked about earlier is just prioritizing sleep over productivity and the amount of work that we do on a daily basis. So it's really just prioritizing yourself as a person and that rest. And a lot of people struggle with that because of trying to maintain a social life and that productivity. So if you have a great sleep schedule and routine and what I call sleep hygiene, then just really try to stick to it and put yourself first.
Kind of jumping off of the topic of sticking to a sleep schedule, I feel like
Mhm.
often it can be very difficult for people with very chaotic and very busy lives that have a lot of stress in order to maintain such a schedule.
Mhm.
Do you have any advice for these people that often, as you said, prioritize productivity over their own mental health and physical health?
So, people advice for people that really highly value productivity over their physical health.
Or are just, well, those people included, but also if they're just having difficulty with trying to uh if they happen to be very stressed out in their normal day lives.
I
Those
think
might
that
be two different questions. Go
yeah,
ahead and answer them.
so so people that are really stressed out in their everyday life, I would just suggest like going back to the things that were really helpful for you. You guys don't have to reinvent the wheel when it comes to sleep or taking care of yourself. Just remember the things that were really helpful. Um, one of the things that is helpful for me is just having like just sleeping in my bed and just having my normal routine of showering before bed, brushing my teeth, just stuff like that. I think when I go outside of that time frame and my routine, then it's just really difficult for me. So my routine is probably vastly different from other people. So I would just say stay with what works with you best. I know that, people that have chaotic lifestyle, sometimes that isn't permanent. Sometimes you have spurts where you might not have enough time to sleep. And so just respect that trying to decrease the stress and anxiety around getting the hours of sleep and just trying to say, like, okay, I want great quality. So I'm just going to do whatever I can to have great sleep hygiene in order to continue with that.
Thank
And
you so
so,
much.
yeah, of course. But I think there was, so the other question is the people that don't prioritize sleep and they prioritize productivity or something.
Yes, yes.
Um, I can't change anybody's mind on whether they won't want to have productivity over sleep. That is completely up to you. However, I think that with some people that view life kind of like that as like living life in the fast lane type of thing, knowing that that has its limitations. Eventually, you might be pulled over by a cop living life in the fast lane, such as like having consequences of increase mental health issues and lacking energy. And if you're really focused on productivity, I think it's really essential to focus on sleep. But if you feel like, sleep is getting in the way of the hours of productivity in a day, you got to weigh the costs and benefits of that. So, yeah, I think that's a complicated question again, but it's a great one nonetheless. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I know that a lot of students and a lot of people, usually after work or after school, we would usually take naps, just because we do not have enough sleep the day before and we just feel crashing down at the end of the day. How much can naps really affect your initial sleep schedule? And if there are any like disadvantages to it, how do you suggest this trying to prevent having naps during the day?
So huge naps are highly controversial. You know why? Because America's theme is productivity over, you know, like happiness in life, it seems like. Um, it is said like in America, we really focus on how many hours we sleep at night. So that type of sleep is called I think it was called monophasic sleep pattern. So I think our Western culture focuses on monophasic sleep pattern. So that's one long single bout of slumber a night. However, way before, all of our, westernization and stuff, humans weren't sleeping like that. Humans were actually sleeping in a more of a biophasic pattern of sleep. That would mean that you'll have a first sleep and a second sleep. And so they generally sleep a longer period at night. However, there is like a 90-minute or so nap during the day. You can see this in cultures that are untouched by electricity, like people in Gabra in like North Kenya, or the San people in the Kahali Desert. Probably pronounced that wrong, but I tried. But for some of those people that are truly in hunter-gatherer tribes that are like I said, untouched by electricity, they actually sleep longer at night, like a longer period at night, but they'd still take a nap during the day. So the practice of biophasic sleep is not cultural in origin, is actually deeply biological. So all humans have a genetically hardwired dip in alertness that occurs in the mid-afternoon hours. This is called the postprandial alertness dip. Has any of you guys noticed that in the afternoon, right after lunch, you kind of get tired? Yeah, see, I knew that. Okay. So with that is that, we see that in cultures in like South America, Mediterranean Europe, especially in Spain or in Mexico. We call it the siesta culture, right? So we actually see some businesses that are open from, let's say, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then they're closed on the hours from 1 to 5 and open back up at 5 to 9. So it is super important for some cultures to stay within that like biophasic type of sleep, whereas we still just value only the monophasic sleep. And I think that has to do with how we want to be constantly productive, but that's a whole different topic. So, whether naps are going to mess up your sleep schedule, it seems like we as a culture in America have been kind of shying away from naps since, we were 3 or 4, but it's actually super helpful. The amount of the nap time really matters. So I can't tell you a specific nap time, but sometimes there's people that take a 5 to 10 minute nap versus, an hour or 2 hours. For me, I can probably sleep maybe 2 hours during the afternoon and still be okay. But for other people, they can't. So I just like more sleep, whereas other people are probably okay with less. But sorry to bring that roundabout answer, but I mean, have you noticed that in you guys?
Absolutely. I feel like as if sometimes, obviously, I have more energy on some days than others, but um, almost every single day, I seem to lose energy at around maybe not right after lunchtime, as you said, but mid-afternoon, maybe from around 3 to 6 o'clock. And just a dip in my energy comes, and I'm unable to be as productive as I would like to be. And oftentimes I do nap. And uh, up until this point, I've always thought that that was an unhealthy practice because it's, as you said, culturally pretty ingrained that we should just have uh, a single long time of sleep when actually biologically we don't have that hardwired into our system. Um, but I was just wondering if in a subject that level of controversialness as the topic of naps and sleep, is there a good amount of sleep a person could get? Because a lot of sources say a lot of different types of things about what a person should or shouldn't do when it comes to sleep.
And that's something that I struggle with as well, because there's a lot of sources that look at research and stuff like that. And research, you guys have to understand, is just data and material. And the thing is with that is that they try as best they can to be non-biased, but it's also they're trying to do a study that generalizes for the entire rest of the population. So if you only study California and their sleep study patterns, then I don't really think it's fair to say that, California should be representative of the entire world. And so um, I had looked at sources like the National Sleep Foundation. They're a really great sleep foundation, and they have a lot of research and evidence based information, meaning that they base a lot of their generalizations or recommendations off of very many studies. And that is really awesome. Um, and so kind of what they have suggested is like, so for children in school, 9 to 11 hours, teenagers, about 8 to 10 hours, young adults, 7 to 9, and older, 7 to 8 hours of sleep. So, like I had said before, I don't know where this research information is coming from, and it's hard to tell whether this is really if this information can be generalized to all of us in America or around the world or just California or just Texas. Are these people that they studied sleep? Are they just saying like how many hours of sleep do you get a night? Like regardless of maybe sleep issues and stuff like that. So if they're taking data from a ton of people that have insomnia, then they're going to say less hours. So I it's hard to tell, but it seems like this is a pretty good generalization of how much sleep that we should be getting.
Oh, all right. Thank you so much. So what what kind of other so talking about the hours of sleep that we get, um, what would you recommend consuming or drinking before people go to sleep so that they can ensure that they have their full hours of sleep in?
Well, the biggest thing is just making sure that it's non-caffeinated. Um, Also, water is a great choice to stay hydrated throughout the night. However, there are people that struggle with, waking up in the middle of the night because they drank too much liquid. So I wouldn't recommend, ramping up on all the water intake of the day at night. But I would just recommend, just drinking things that are soothing, non-caffeinated, and even making sure of, ingredients that are in tea. Some teas are really awesome for helping with sleep that are homeopathic and are more natural. Like there's certain teas that have like magnesium or um, lavender and stuff in them that kind of help promote good sleep. And there are teas that, maybe have some, flowers or different kind of herbs in them that might keep you up. So also just note what you're drinking as well.
All right. So, what do you think of people that say that? Because earlier you mentioned about the controversial topic of the hours of sleep and kind of different people's lifestyle. What do you think of people who say that they can't sleep?
Uh, I would say, I would just try to investigate further. It just really has to do with like what might be happening. So is it a biological issue, or is it a more of a um, mental health issue or stress, or is your living environment impacting you? Stuff like that. Do either of you guys struggle with any sleep?
Yeah, I actually try to go to bed, and then whenever I do try and go to sleep, I would sleep, and then like maybe 15 minutes later, I would just suddenly wake up for no reason, and then I just try and go back to sleep. Some nights it's like that. Some nights I just go straight to bed. It really depends by day and kind of how stressed I am, just right before bed.
See, that says a lot in that, just determining your stress level prior to bed. So part of that is being able to do what we call preventative stuff. So nowadays, I know that you guys probably are familiar with prevention medicine. We have vaccines, we have doctor's appointments, we have therapists, we have school counselors, we have all of these things that prevent us from getting sick or getting, more deeper into mental health issues. So those are things that you can do prior to. So it's always about setting up yourself for success. Like you guys probably know of trying to prepare yourself for college. So, I mean, what are some things that work for you?
What works for me is just maybe breathing in and breathing exercises.
Hmm. Yeah.
I feel like for me, what often works is, as you were talking about taking preventative measures, I found that shutting off all of my devices and just convincing myself that I'm going to go to sleep at an earlier time is a healthier way for me to adequately get more sleep and commit myself in order to be able to receive that amount of sleep. Um, but I also feel like on the flip side, there's a lot of the times where I feel like I haven't done what I wanted to during the day and I end up procrastinating sleep. And I was just curious if you happen to know about something called revenge sleep procrastination and if you could shine some light upon that.
Yeah, the revenge sleep, procrastination. So I had to look this up. I was like, what on earth is revenge sleep procrastination? Um, so it describes the decision to sacrifice sleep for leisure time that's driven by a daily schedule lacking in free time. So we talked about this earlier in culture and not procrastination, but culture in um, productivity. And that's, it describes for people with high stress jobs that take up a bulk of the day. But you guys, as students, you guys have school that takes up a bulk of the day. And gosh, if you're lucky, or if you have other stuff like, clubs and exercise and football or any organized sport, that takes up the entire day. And so I can only imagine that you would want to chill out before bed and do whatever you want and socialize and do the things that, increase your serotonin and dopamine. Are those things great? Yes, but it also causes, this revenge bedtime procrastination. So I'm sure that you've kind of noticed some of those things, or a lot of your listeners have maybe noticed some of those things. Um, so I guess the original question was if I knew anything about it, but yes, I do.
Okay, so what besides the revenge sleep procrastination, which personally have not heard of it until today. um I'm glad I learned something there. What other rare sleep disorders have you encountered in the past, and does this affect your viewpoint of what sleep generally is?
Oh my gosh, yes. So there are some crazy types of sleep disorders. And again, like somnus, they can really dive into that deeper. But I mean, some of the things that I've kind of come across in private practice is just the insomnia, narcolepsy, um, sleep apnea. Gosh, there was this one sleep disorder that people are like awake but asleep at the same time, and they feel like there's like an elephant or something sitting on their chest, and they're kind of like awake but they're in the middle of a dream, and it's really scary. Gosh, I forget what it's called, but there's a lot of different stuff like that. But even narcolepsy, so people that just fall asleep in the middle of the day, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're sleep deprived. Narcolepsy is comes from stress, and it's more of a mental health issue than a sleep issue. So some of these are very interesting in that they they are very much derived from biological issues and not necessarily have to do with like sleep duration and sleep quality. So it's very interesting.
All right, and that concludes our questions for today. I definitely learned a lot from this talk. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Of
Um,
course.
if
Uh,
you would have any final comments or just a general kind of sum up of what you think is suitable, then.
Well, yeah, I guess to answer your question, I think that sleep is such a complicated topic. I think that that's kind of, why it's kind of hard to answer questions that are seemingly very simple, because they're not simple. They're very complicated. So I hope that you guys that are listening and hosting, that you guys have learned so much, but also maybe want to learn a little bit more about sleep. And I think this is such a great topic. So thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Thank you so very much, Miss Mayo. And thank you to every listener out there. Miss Mayo, do you have any of your services that you'd like to plug or talk about so that some of our listeners would be able to find your services in the future?
Yeah, definitely. So, my private practice, I am located in Irvine. So, I am kind of nearby the Google building, but that's even very close to John Wayne Airport. So, I'm very centrally located, and I have in-person sessions and virtual sessions. I've been doing that all throughout the pandemic. I think it's really helpful to be able to reach people virtually, but also it's helpful to have that right brain to right brain connection in person as well. So it's really up to you if you want to come in person or virtually. You can find my information through a quick Google search, or I have my website, Emily Mayot, lcsw.com, or you can find me on Psychology Today, which is a directory for therapists. So my name, my name is spelled Mayot, but pronounced Mayo. So thank you so much, you guys. I look forward to maybe having me on the show another time.
Again, thank you very much, Miss Mayo. And to all of our listeners, please check out Miss Mayot's work. She does a lot of therapeutic services. And if you need any of those services, please consider going to her for some of your help with your mental issues or your everyday lives.
Please be sure to join us every month for a discussion about mental health, and be sure to follow us on Instagram at @lot_foundation. Thank you once again for tuning in with us, and see you in the next episode of the Mental Lotline.